Lesson 37. The Press and the Media. Hello and welcome to this lesson. Today, we are going to talk about the press and the media, the different types of programs on television and radio, the language of newspapers, and some useful verbs connected with the media. This is a very relevant topic because we are surrounded by media every day. So, let us get started. Radio and television. First, let us look at some extracts from TV listings to see the different types of programs you might find. At 4 p.m., there is a talk show with Jessica Brown. This usually has a host and famous people who answer questions about themselves. At 5 p.m., there are cartoons, films where the characters are drawn rather than real, which are crazy fun for kids of all ages. At 5:30 p.m., there is Golden Chance, a game show where people compete to win prizes. At 6 p.m., there is the news and weather forecast. At 6:30 p.m., there is Didbury Street, the nation's favorite soap, which is short for soap opera. That is a series of TV or radio programs about the lives of a particular group of characters, continuing over a long period and broadcast several times every week. At 7 p.m., there is a documentary called Are We Killing Our Kids? It is investigating the junk food industry, which means trying to find out the facts or truth about it. At 8 p.m., there is The Happy Couple, a sitcom, which is a funny TV or radio show where the same characters appear in a different story each week, about a pair of newlyweds. At 9 p.m., there is Roundup, a sports program with all the day's top action. At 10 p.m., there is The Day in Politics, a current affairs program, which is news about political events happening now, presented by James Hill. At 10:30 p.m., there is Vikadal, a detective drama set in Norway, and this is episode 3, where a second body is found. Other expressions connected with TV and radio. Now, let us look at some other useful expressions. The mass media refers to TV, radio, newspapers, and the internet, that is, means of communication which reach very large numbers of people. Subtitles enable people to read what the characters are saying, maybe in translation. If a film is dubbed, you hear the speech in your own language. To receive a lot of TV channels, you may need a satellite dish on the roof or wall of your house. Many channels depend on TV commercials, advertisements, to make money. You may be able to stream radio and TV broadcasts from the internet, and you may be able to watch catch-up TV or TV on demand, which allow you to watch programs whenever you like. A lot of radio and TV stations offer free podcasts, audio or video recordings, which you can download. Newspapers. Now, let us talk about newspapers. A popular or tabloid newspaper usually focuses on sensation rather than real news. It emphasizes very exciting or interesting events. A quality newspaper, on the other hand, is usually more interested in serious news. A tabloid often has stories about celebrities, sport, scandals, events which shock people in a moral way, and crime. A quality paper focuses more on serious journalism, the work of collecting, writing, and publishing or broadcasting news and articles, with in-depth articles that are done carefully and in great detail, explaining the reasons for events. To read newspapers on the internet, you may have to subscribe or pay a subscription, which means you pay a sum of money regularly, for example once a year. Verbs connected with the media. Finally, let us look at some verbs connected with the media. The BBC World Service broadcasts throughout the world. It transmits TV or radio programs. They are televising the opening of Parliament tomorrow, or, less formally, showing. The film was shot or made on location in Australia, which means it was filmed in a real place, not in a studio. The series is set in London in the 1980s. That means the place and time where the drama happens. Within minutes of the event, people were tweeting about it, posting very short messages on the internet. A common mistake to avoid. Before we finish, let us look at a common mistake. Remember that the noun news is uncountable and takes a singular verb. For example, I have some news for you, not a news. And the news is on TV at 7 p.m., not R. So remember, news is always singular. So, that is our lesson on the press and the media. These terms and expressions will help you talk about TV, radio, newspapers, and the online media with confidence.